All right, last little piece. Last piece, right? So what does aesthetics do, right? And how are you going to define your aesthetics, right? So really this is kind of the summary of what it does, right? We're arousing or expressing the feelings of the soul. That's what we're doing. And we are, if people see fashion as fickle, right? People see fashion as, um, I'm sure someone may have said this to you, like, why are you going to do in fashion merchandising, fashion design, fashion stuff? Like, they don't take it as a real career, but they don't understand how important fashion is, right? How important it is to our emotional well-being, right? How important it is to our economy, and how creative it is, right? And fashion is creative because what we do is we express. We what you wear is an outward expression of how you feel. So think about what you wear on a day that you're not feeling well, like you're sick, right? Like you're sick as a dog. It's different than the day that you are going for a job interview or a day that you woke up and you're just like, I'm feeling kind of fly today. Let me put some extra fly on, right? Or you put something on and it changes your feelings for yourself, right? It changes how you feel, right? That's what fashion does. And by being able to articulate your aesthetic, like being able to explain why you made those selections, right? This denim shirt has been in a lot of ensembles, right? So I told you now I'm wearing some dumb Nike, some dumb all over print Nike, exploded Nike logo leggings right now. But I've worn this denim shirt with a silk bias cut skirt that is the same color as the stitching. So it's that rusty orange. I have a bias cut skirt. I told you my jewel tone in my color story, right? So I've worn it with that, with a pair of funky pumps. I've worn it under a tuxedo ensemble, right? So black velvet collar jacket, black pants. I've worn it with cords. I've worn it with shorts. I've worn it over my swimsuit, right? So it's just, and I feel differently in different times I wore it. Now today, when I put it on today, I wanted to be casual, right? I wanted to be casual. I'm tired of wearing sweaters. So I don't know, I just want something different. And today I was just like, oh, let me put my Nike denim shirt on. Never worn that. Nike, sorry. Levi denim shirt on. Now the crazy part is I have more than one Levi denim shirt, but this dark denim one is my favorite with the contrast rust stitching and the pearl snaps. I also have a all white, same, it's the exact same thing. It's just white denim, and I have it in like in a lighter wash too. But this dark wash, I feel like it's so classic that it will never rust on. I actually send it to the dry cleaners because I don't want it to get any lighter by washing it. So I dry clean this denim shirt just because I want it to stay dark denim, right? But again, sorry, when I'm on a tangent there, but just pleasure. That's what aesthetics does. And that's what your aesthetic, when you explain your design aesthetic, it should make people understand you, right? And when you are working for a company, the customer should understand that, right? And pleasure comes from the soul, right? It comes from the soul, and our soul is different than our body, right? Definitely different than our body. The soul is just that non-physical entity. We can't explain what it is, but when something touches your soul, it touches your soul, right? And since the body can physically be touched, the soul can't. And there's that saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? So you see something like, gotta have it. You've done that. You've been on a quest, right? When you're like, I must have that thing, whatever it is. Like, it evokes that emotional response, and it touches our soul, or we use the words that, that lifted my spirit, right? All those things suggest there's a depth. There's a depth to what fashion does, right? What the aesthetic, what the understanding of the aesthetic, the articulation of the aesthetic, what it does. And on the flip side, when we say something lacks soul, we know that too, right? It just doesn't move. It's like, I'm not feeling it, right? We know that too. And because it limits us, right? So, those sensory things are really important. And when we talk about aesthetic experience, it's a selection. It really is. And I can't say it enough. It is not automatic. It's a learned experience. It's a learned way to describe and articulate and verbalize and touch people's souls. So it's not something that just from day one you were like, I got that, right? It does take a little bit more practice to do. And part of what you'll be doing in describing your design aesthetic is that you are going to be, activating the thought process of the mind. Let me move I may have to move myself so you can see what that says down there. Okay, let me move myself up here in the corner for a minute, because let's see. Okay, so at least you can see the words down there. So we're activating the thought process of the mind. So, pleasure is derived from those sensory receptors, and it's wired into us as human beings, right? Pleasure is wired into us. We want pleasure, right? And it comes from stimulating the mind. So, part of what we do is we understand the world through the use of symbols, and those symbols provide new ways of seeing and understanding solutions. And the mind and body cohabitate in this little space, this little space between our ears where, cognition, thought meets the physical, meets those chemical, electrical, components of writing. My husband is a chemistry professor. He would love that I just made that reference. He would love that I just made that reference, right? And, our body is constantly in the process of adapting and changing to new sensory experiences of touch, taste, smell, all of what senses did I miss? I missed two senses. Thought, taste, touch, smell, and hearing, right? We're always adjusting to those connections. We walk into a space that smells great, we feel great. We walk into a space that doesn't smell great, we have a reaction. We walk into a place that's aesthetically pleasing and we're like, okay, I can come in here. Or we walk into someplace like, ugh. I've walked into stores that were just messy. I'm like, oh, this is messy. I got some cute stuff, but the store is messy, right? I've walked into places like, this is immaculate. You don't have anything I want, but it's beautiful, right? So all of those things, we are activating the thought process of the mind. And as a fashion professional, those are the parameters that you are going to have to fulfill in order to be successful in your endeavors. And like I said, humans are genetically programmed to find pleasure, right? To find pleasure, and we do that in the choices that we make. That's part of the reason why we shop so much. That's why shopping has become a pastime. That we actually get pleasure out of shopping, right? Of finding, touching, seeing, smelling beautiful things, right? That is why the mall has become, our pastime. That's why shopping has become our pastime. So again, it's really important that we are able to connect the dots when we're talking about those things. Okay. All right. Oops. Sorry. I did that slide already. Went the wrong way. All right. So how do we, as design professionals, contribute to the aesthetic experience? I'm going to keep my video here for a while, but there's something behind it. I'm going to move in just a minute. So, there are three categories that we as merchandising and design professionals will use to contribute to that aesthetic experience, right? So this is not as much as your aesthetic experience, but your contribution to the experience as part of your career, right? So there's really three categories for this piece of the aesthetic. Let me see. Turn the video. Let me see if I can turn my video off and just narrate over it. So give me a second. I'm going to pause it. Let me see if I can just get my picture out of here. Hold on. Hold, please. Okay, we're back. I had to rearrange the slide really quick because I wanted you to see the graphic. But my face in the video was covering the graphic. So I had to do a pause, rearrange the slide really quick, and then go back to it. Okay. So going back in, contributing to the design experience, there's three ways that we do that. There are three categories that we do that. And under this section of the lecture, there are going to be three tables of these roles, so these categories. So what careers, are on the developer side of the aesthetic experience, what careers on the gatekeeper side of the aesthetic experience, and what careers on the promoter side of the aesthetic experience. And there's some overlap. There are people that are in multiple places. But when we just talk about these three in particular, first we're going to talk about the developer. The developer really are they're professionals involved in the creation of the product. They initiate and contribute to the ideas. They perfect design, and they complete the production, right? So they make those technical and managerial and creative decisions for the creation of a product. And again, it's important that they understand the aesthetics, right? The aesthetics of their brand and what their customer wants to fulfill their need, right? It's really important that they do those two things, right? And everything goes through a development process. It just does. So it's really important that the developers are in there. And like I said, the chart underneath will let you know. I'm trying to limit this to 15 minutes. So read the chart underneath, and it'll talk about some of those careers, okay? Because I'm inching up on my 15 minutes. Next are the gatekeepers, right? And gatekeepers make decisions about existing products and how the product should reach the consumers, right? They talk about how things are going to be distributed, and they look at criteria like fashionability and profitability and salability and convenience, right? And the gatekeepers, forward all the information to the next route, which are the promoters. And the promoters emphasize and enhance the appeal of a product and a brand, right? Through, marketing, point of purchase displays, and all of the physical things that, even pricing, all those physical things that help us complete our purchase. So again, make sure you read the chart and the corresponding information that goes with each chart, because I put more information down there at the end. So what do we have? What do we have in summary, right? In summary, if we're ending up, that's not the last slide. If we're ending our, if we're defining our aesthetic experience, there we go. Ended up back on the right side. Okay, let me move my video back down to the bottom again. I'm making adjustments on the fly here. There we go. So how do we summarize this, right? We summarize this as, aesthetic experiences are just defined as a sensitive use and appreciation of formal, expressive, and symbolic qualities of a product and or an environment that provides some non-instrumental benefits that result in pleasure and satisfaction in. And as design professionals, it's important that we remember that pleasure is a result of stimulating of the mind, body, and soul, and a combination of these elements, right? Really important. And, by defining our aesthetics, we are able to prepare and contribute to the development, to the gatekeeping, and the promotion of products and environments that foster positive consumer experiences, right? So that is the purpose of defining your aesthetics as an individual, but also defining aesthetic experiences that will translate into consumer sales. Okay. All right. So that is the last part of this lecture slides. And as always, dive on into the rest. There's still more to look at. All right. See ya.